Hey everyone. Hey, what's up? Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel.
Hey, it's Liv Moscati.
Hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm gonna be doing a little bit of a different sort of video. Everybody has tea in their life and like their stories. I'm kind of gonna be sharing some of my ultra dramatic, like either scary or really funny or like embarrassing stories. Today we're gonna start with kind of a dramatic and like not exactly scary, but like a really bad experience. Today I am gonna be spilling the tea on Chipotle, what it's really like to work there, the food and everything. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in seeing me come for Chipotle, keep watching. Chipotle was like my first real job because my first job was at like this Christian church near me, which that's a whole separate tea story. We'll get into that. That's a whole separate video. I probably should have done that one first because that was my first job, but it wasn't like a real job because I was under the age of 16, so I couldn't work full time. I don't know, I just don't qualify it as a real job because I wasn't making minimum wage. Anyway, so I kind of count Chipotle as like my first real job. And I got an interview and I was so freaking excited, you guys. When I got the interview, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get a job. Because at the time I was in kind of a bad situation at the church. Like I said, I'll do a whole video about that. That's a separate issue. That's a whole nother kettle of messy drama over there. Anyhow, I got my job at Chipotle. I was like super nervous, but I guess I made a good impression on the lady. And plus, something you realize very quickly is that in fast food, they really just want warm bodies. And like, if you are a human being and you have a pulse, they want you to work for them. So I thought it was a big deal at the time because I was 16 and I was stupid. I get hired, I start working, and I realized right away that like, this is really intense. Mind you, I've never had a real job before, so I don't know what to expect, right? I guess I just assumed it was what happened, right? For starters, my typical shift was 7 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. That is a long shift. We're required to have a 30-minute lunch by law in my state. Over 6 hours straight, you must have a 30-minute lunch. That's required, right? The Chipotle I was working at was so shady. I didn't realize this, right? Because I've never had a job. What my manager would do is he based us getting a lunch upon whether or not we got done all of the things he wanted us to do. So I would show up there at 7 a.m., right? And he would hand me a crap ton of chips, right? Make our chips in the store. That job, that position, making chips, I cannot tell you how horrible it is. You probably can't see them on camera, but I have scars on my arms still. We'll get into that in a minute. But back to the break thing. If I didn't get done all of the work between 7 a.m. and 10 that he wanted me to get done, I did not get a lunch break. I would get maybe 5 minutes to stuff some food down my throat before we opened the doors at 10:45. But if I didn't get done all of the work he expected me to get done in those 3 hours, this man would literally write my lunch, because we had just a paper that we would fill out, which was when we clocked in and when we clocked out. So I never thought of that before until I worked other places and realized how easy that must have been to forge, because I almost never received a 30-minute lunch. Like, it was probably 50-50 out of the times I was there, because he would give me so much to do. That was the first really crappy thing about that job. It's the complete disregard for laws about breaks. And that was the only break I got, right? So for the rest of the shift, we were usually pretty busy, so we didn't get any other breaks. A lot of places, they'll give you a 15 or a 10-minute break. Chipotle, the only break you got was your lunch. And like I said, this guy must have been writing our lunches in. I consistently didn't get a full 30-minute lunch. That was something very normal. Like, a lot of us just wouldn't get a 30-minute lunch. The second really crappy thing was the jobs itself. My store had really bad safety policy. I could technically, when I quit, I could have called OSHA on them, and I probably would have got that store closed. I chose not to because I felt bad. My employers were immigrants. They weren't very good at English, and I knew it would be really, really hard for them to start over. So I made the decision that since I didn't receive too much injury, I wasn't gonna go ahead and press charges with OSHA or anything. My job typically every single day was making chips. He would give me 3 boxes of chips. So I don't know if any of you guys ever worked at Chipotle, but we were only supposed to make 2 boxes maximum at a time. If you make more than that, they kind of dry out throughout the day, or they get a little bit stale. What he wanted me to do was make all of the chips for our entire day of work and sales all in the morning so that they were all done. These boxes of chips were, I would say the box was probably that wide. It was 3 3.5 or so feet long and probably 1.5 or 2 feet wide. If you do the volume of a 3-foot by 2-foot box, it was that many cubic feet of raw uncooked chips that I had to fry by hand in a 375-degree oil fryer. Here's the best part, right? Not only am I standing there for 3+ hours just frying chips, or even longer if I didn't get them all done, I had no protection, okay? So this oil is, like I said, it's set 375 degrees. So that is hot enough to like absolutely kill you. This oil splatters everywhere when you put wet chips in, right? It splatters all over the place. So it's flying onto my body, onto my arms, because we wore short sleeves because it was so hot over there. So I still have burns on my arms from that, burn marks, because I would get burned every day. I would have blisters on my arms when I came home, like bubbling blisters. One of my coworkers, who's really short, she would sometimes fry the chips when I wasn't there, and she would get burns on her face because she was lower and closer to the oil. So she got blister burns on her face sometimes. We had no gloves. We had no face protection, no eye protection. I started coming home with these burns all the time, and my parents finally found out about it and asked me, like, what's going on? Why are you getting these burns? And they got really mad. My dad especially. My dad was like, this is not okay. This is not OSHA acceptable. You need to ask for protection. And if they won't give you protection, I will buy you protection. So I went in and was like, hey, can my dad give me a pair of heat gloves so that I can stop my arms from being burned? You know what they told me? No, your dad can't give you heat gloves because they're not chipotle certified. Whatever chipotle certified means. I don't know if that was like a food safety thing or what. So they're like, okay, we'll order you some. And I was like, yes, please order me some because my arms are getting burned every single morning. I wait for a week or 2 weeks. Nothing happens. So I go back to the same manager and say, hey, can you order me gloves? Yeah, sure. Nothing. Then I tried 2 different managers. I tried all 3 managers that I currently had in my store and asked them all once, every single one of them, and twice for the GM if they would order me gloves. They all told me they would. None of them ordered me gloves. That was really horrible. And not only was that dangerous, but there was also the fact that the oil fryer at our store leaked. So there would be a puddle of slippery oil right next to the fryer full of oil, literally hot enough to melt your body. So if you slipped on that and you grabbed the fryer or your hand fell in or you fell in, I don't even want to think about that. Something that I always worried about because there's people running around because we're all in a hurry trying to get ready. And that was huge safety issue, is a puddle of oil. It's a huge slip hazard right next to a heat source. And then the grills were right next door. So if you missed the oil fryer, you could fall into the grill. Cleanliness wasn't something they really prioritized. It was just a really unsafe work environment. And I kept asking them to do stuff about it, to get me protection, get my coworkers protection. And they would claim that they were on the way, and they never would. So that just shows you right there how much they cared about our safety as employees and how much they cared about us as people, is they weren't even willing to order us a pair of freaking gloves to keep our arms from getting 2nd-degree burns. I'm sure there are some people who have a great Chipotle work experience, if the managers follow all the rules and they care about you as a person. It's not a bad company. Because I like a lot of the things they stand for. They stand for sustainable agriculture and food, healthy foods that are not going to be bad for your body. This particular Chipotle, all of my managers were concerned only with making a buck. That is very much the wrong attitude to have, in my opinion, when you're dealing in a workplace with a whole bunch of people under you and you have hazardous conditions that are stemming from the fact that you're not doing your job. OSHA shouldn't be the gold standard. OSHA is the minimum. And they weren't even following the minimum precautions. So that was horrible. So another thing I really hated about that was the work environment. There were a lot of really toxic people who worked there. Again, it's just a locational thing. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. I feel like that tends to be particular to fast food in general. So they were the college kids who thought they knew everything. And I was in high school at the time. I was 16. So they would boss me. One girl in particular, let's call her Regina. So that wasn't actually her name. In case she ever watches this, I'm just going to change her name. Regina. So she would boss me the hell around. She was always ordering me around, and she was always degrading me and calling me sweetie and honey in the most patronizing way. And she was 19, right? So she was 3 years older than I was at the time. And she was acting like I was this dumb little kid, even though I was brand new and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I'm trying to learn, and she's making fun of me when I mess up and mocking everything I do. And she really made life miserable, and she told me what to do all of the time. She went to one of the managers and told him I was disrespecting her, when all I did was ask her a question, clarifying the complicated instructions she gave me. And she went to one of the managers and had them come talk to me because they said I was being disrespectful to her. You have no authority over me. You are not a manager. You are not my boss. You are another teenage girl just like me, and you are being a absolute bitch. So I don't want to hear it, okay? Secondly, who does that? Who goes and sicks a manager on a 16-year-old? Okay? You're not a big girl who can handle it yourself. You're 3 freaking years older than me. If you're gonna act like you're that much smarter and more intelligent than me and you can boss me around at everything, you can damn well come and talk to me and tell me you have a problem. You don't have to go get a manager to come yell at me for you. She made my life very joyous. Another person who was kind of rough to work with though was this other girl. We'll call her Lucy. So this girl latched onto me as a friend because she was a little bit out there, a whole bunch of problems. Like, she'd had a kid out of wedlock and it made it really hard for her money-wise and stuff, and she had all sorts of problems. She made a lot of bad life decisions in addition, so she would spend all of her money on shopping and then she'd be broke and she'd be like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So then she'd have to work a whole bunch to save up more money, and then she can barely afford childcare for her daughter, and then she goes and decides she's going to Korea because she's obsessed with Koreans. So like stuff like that. She just made really bad decisions with her money and she was kind of irresponsible, and she eventually ended up latching onto me because I was nicer and kind of using me as her backup. She had me come and pick her up multiple times. Like, I would drive her places because she crashed her car. She would call me and just be like, hey, I need a ride. This went on even after I left Chipotle. The final straw though was when she ended up asking if she could crash at my place because she was in a bad situation with one of her friends, and I told her no, and that made her really mad. She actually didn't talk to me for a long time, and then actually when she did talk to me, we ended up getting in a fight and she blocked me because she didn't agree with some of my views. I'm actually not mad about that. Lucy, I wish you the best, but I'm really glad you're out of my life. Then there was also the guy, we'll call him David. He liked to argue, right? And he would incessantly pick fights with me about what I believed, religious beliefs, my political beliefs, anything. I would literally walk in the door and he would be like, hey, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? And I'd be like, holy cow, I'm not even awake, it's 7 a.m. And I would have to try and defend my beliefs. I don't mind debating, but it was also a little bit exhausting sometimes because I felt like I was kind of constantly under scrutiny by this adult. That was really my workplace experience with the employee. There was a little clique of girls who were just kind of, they were their own thing, and I was never part of it because I was homeschooled. So I wasn't cool, and so I wasn't in with them. So I just kind of sat by myself, which is why I ended up with Lucy, because she latched onto me and she was like, I'll be your friend because you have no friends and I have no friends either. So I was like, oh boy, that's what happens when you're a societal reject. But anyway, so the managers were absolutely horrible. They really were. They made my life miserable. And it got to the point where I was crying before work or during my breaks sometimes because I couldn't bear it anymore. That the people I worked with made me feel crummy because they made fun of me and they didn't like me. And also, I was getting injured at work and nobody cared enough to do anything about it. I had no breaks half the time. It was horrible. It was really horrible. My parents got really upset when they saw me sad and they were like, you need to find a new job. So thank you to my parents for pushing me to seek employment elsewhere. It was kind of out of the frying pan into the fire, considering that my next couple of jobs were also horrible, but I'll make separate videos on those. About the food. So the tea about the food, a lot of people associate Chipotle with foodborne illness. That was actually never my experience. We were always very good about keeping the food sanitized. We were not good about keeping the floor clean. The floor was always disgusting and slippery. But the food was actually, we were really good about that. We had to take temperatures. I would say it was one of the safer places that I've worked because they were always really good about taking their temperatures. We had health inspectors come just like anywhere else. The food is delicious, and I will say it's really healthy for you. We make everything fresh every morning, so all of the salsas, all of the meat, all of the guacamole, and everything, we make it all fresh in the morning. The only things we don't make fresh are the sour cream and cheese. Obviously, we just get those shipped into us, and then we grate the cheese fresh, and we just put the sour cream into the containers. We have to chop it all too. We have to chop the cilantro and the onions and the peppers. You can come in. What's up? Making a video exposing Chipotle.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
What do you...
Did you want something?
No, I was just coming to say hi.
Hello. Anyway, so yeah, just like they advertised, everything is made fresh, and I really did appreciate that about them. Honestly, that is the healthiest I've ever been, like internally. Like, my gut was really great and my skin was really good when I worked there, because every day pretty much that I worked there, and I worked full-time, I would eat food because they give you 1 free meal a day, which was nice. I will say that is very, very nice of them, because most places don't do that. You just get a discount. You don't necessarily get free food and drink. I still eat there, and I will always eat there. I actually usually eat at the Chipotle I used to work at, so I see some of the people that I used to work with.
Which is a little bit awkward, but you know.
I guess we'll never know. I don't know what that had to do with anything, but I just felt like saying it. So I would recommend eating there. I wouldn't recommend working there. From my experience, I'm sure there are some places that have great managers that care about you, because really every workplace comes down to the managers. So that is my biggest piece of advice for any kind of workplace that you're considering joining, is make sure that the managers seem like they care about you. Because if they care about you and they care about your well-being, you're gonna have a decent work experience and work environment. If they don't care about you and they only care about making a buck, your life at work is gonna be hell, which was my experience there. So that is my Chipotle tea. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you had a good time listening to all of this crap go down. And I hope you won't make the same workplace mistakes as me. Let me know if I should do another couple workplace drama videos, because I have a lot. I've had horrible luck with work and with school. I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!